What if the golden girl of Hollywood isn't as perfect as she seems? Blake Lively, actress, fashion icon, and Ryan Reynolds' other half, has built a career on charm and charisma. But peel back the layers and you'll find a trail of interviews that left fans stunned, offended, or just plain confused. These moments don't just live in the past, they're sparking fresh debates today. Let's dive into the 5 times Blake's words turned heads for all the wrong reasons and what they might reveal about her. First up, picture this. It's 2016, and Blake's promoting Café Society. A journalist, Kjersti Flaa, congratulates her on her pregnancy, expecting a warm response. Instead, Blake snaps back with biting sarcasm. "Congrats on your little bump." The room freezes. Fans later blasted her for rudeness, and Kjersti didn't hold back either. She called it the worst interview of her career. That sharp edge didn't just sting, it set a tone people still talk about. But was it a one-off? Fast forward to 2024, and Blake's in hot water again. She's on the press tour for It Ends With Us, a film tackling domestic violence. A reporter asks how she'd handle fans wanting to discuss that heavy topic. Her answer? A quip about them asking for her address or star sign instead. The internet erupted. How could she dodge such a serious question with a joke? Critics accused her of trivializing the movie's core, and whispers of behind-the-scenes drama with co-star Justin Baldoni only fanned the flames. Something bigger was brewing. Rewind to 2017, and you'll catch Blake in a different light. She's chatting about All I See Is You when she suddenly stops cold. "Did you even see the movie?" she asks the reporter, her tone dripping with doubt. The awkward silence that follows says it all. Some saw it as her calling out lazy journalism. Others thought it was pure arrogance. Either way, that prickly moment stuck. And it wasn't the last time her words raised eyebrows. Then there's 2014, when Blake sat down with Vogue for their 73 Questions series. It's light, it's fun, until she claims The Shawshank Redemption, a gritty prison drama, is the movie that made her laugh the hardest. Fans scratched their heads. Was she joking, trolling, or just wildly out of touch? That quirky answer didn't fade away. It's still mocked online as a bizarre glimpse into her mind, and what happened next would shock everyone. Take a step back to 2012, when a younger Blake spoke to Elle about her future kids. She's dreaming aloud about names, then casually drops a transgender slur like it's no big deal. At the time, it barely registered, but years later, as old clips resurfaced, that flippant remark hit different. Social media lit up. How could she be so careless? It's not just a relic of the past. It's fuel for a growing debate about who she really was back then. Now, tie all this to 2025. Rumors are swirling harder than ever. Some say her "It Ends With Us" attitude hints at a fallout with Justin Baldoni. Whispers of on-set tension keep piling up. Others point to a Mean Girl vibe, connecting these interviews into a pattern. Ex-posts dig up clips daily, speculating if her charm's just a mask. The controversies aren't dying down. They're morphing into something louder, messier, and way more clickable. So, what's the deal? Is Blake Lively a star who thrives on pushing buttons, or just someone who can't stop tripping over her own words? These 5 moments, from sarcastic jabs to tone-deaf quips, paint a picture that's tough to ignore. She's not afraid to speak her mind, but that boldness keeps landing her in the hot seat. Fans love her, haters dissect her, and the clashes keep coming. Maybe it's all a misunderstanding, or maybe she's exactly who she seems. Here's the kicker. These aren't just old stories gathering dust. They're sparking fights online right now, shaping how we see her in 2025. Is she Hollywood's misunderstood darling, or a celeb who doesn't care who she offends? That's the question lingering long after the credits roll. And it's one you'll be thinking about tomorrow. So sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and enjoy Blake Lively's top 5 most controversial interviews, starting with her 2016 Café Society debacle with Kjersti Flaa.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you, thank you.
Are
you
you
like
gonna-
the movie? Are you a Woody Allen fan?
I love most of his movies, and this one was so like visually amazing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Did you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, working in
Everyone
digital.
wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
I love Jesse's
He has some
suits and
beautiful.
how
That's what I'm
he
saying. His wardrobe was beautiful.
I know.
Corey's
Everybody.
wardrobe
I
was
know.
gorgeous.
He's
Those
so
high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
I wish men
And
wore
sorry,
high-waisted
too.
pants
I
like that
know.
still.
Me too.
Or the father with his tank top in
Oh,
bed.
it's so
Just
good.
like, it's just like
Did you
that.
catch
You could
the,
feel
the
it.
tablecloth on the light in the Italian restaurant when they eat spaghetti?
I didn't
and
notice that. No.
There's
So
so
I
much
feel like-
warmth of everything, you know.
Yeah, it's not just the women that have the clothes.
But
I feel like the women
Vittorio-
get the conversation, but it's like
Yeah.
every detail with everybody.
But
Like,
yeah,
it's so,
it was
so
amazing
beautiful.
to look at.
Steve's
And then to see
white
it,
suits.
yes.
And then you notice in LA, like everybody's in cream colors, and all the men are wearing like white and cream. And then you get to New York, and it's a little bit more browns and moodier. And Susie really told such a story.
Yeah, amazing.
Alongside Vittorio, because it is a lot brighter and sunnier in LA, and New York has just a steaminess to it.
And I think, you know, the whole Hollywood glam, it's so glamorous and everything. Can you relate to the things they were saying about Hollywood? It's so easy to get seduced by the fame and the money and the glamour.
You see it all the time. That was one of my favorite things about the movie, were the subtle turns to their own transition into like the ego of showbiz that Kristen has in that scene with Steve Carell, and then with Bobby taking on the persona of a club owner, but still like these are things you do when you're an adult.
Yeah.
When you have to work, you have to. You play a part. You play at your life in a way that you find successful, or so it's a lot about choices, and then they carry this love, you know, and it's just very very grown up.
It's neat to see where they came from though, and see how authentic these people truly are, and what good people they truly are too.
Yeah.
Because it's what you would see from the outside of the Café Society. You could dismiss each of their characters, you know,
Right.
but to see what a heart and soul each of them have is nice, and it's something that, you know, that's the thing, you know, as far as like relating to it personally, that you see, you know, you have these ideas of people that you're fans of, and then you meet them and get to know them as a person, and oftentimes you're such a greater fan of them as a person than you are as the person that people feel like they know, and that's always that's always nice and refreshing when you see that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, what do you feel like is the biggest misconceptions about fame and Hollywood in general?
I think the idea that people think that they know you, I think because of the how intrusive media is these days, there's people care so much more about your personal life than they do your work, and if you aren't open with your personal life, then they just make it up for you and share it for you. So I think the biggest misconception I see often is people feeling like they know someone that they don't, because they know what the media has created of someone. And the disappointing thing is when you meet the people, they're always so much more awesome than they're portrayed to be. I mean, that's normally my experience. And even people that are portrayed to be really great people, they're just a lot more complicated and interesting and nuanced and caring and thoughtful. And that's always nice, you know, to see that your idea of someone isn't always who they actually are.
Yeah.
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 Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
First time I watched this movie, I cried.
When?
Guys, I genuinely love this movie, and I always tell people I do junkets every day. You can't always tell people you love their movies, but I love this one. So seriously, thank you for taking the time.
Oh man, thanks.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm going to jump into this, and Blake, I'm going to start with you. Most of us, if we're lucky enough to run into a celebrity in public, we only have a few moments to maybe speak with you guys. But for people who see this movie, who relate to the topics of this movie on a deeply personal level, they're really going to want to talk to you. This movie is going to affect people, and they're going to want to tell you about their lives. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you, and then we could. I'm just curious about
social security number.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm
Yeah.
like, are we talking logistics? Are we talking emotionally? Yeah, what's been beautiful about this movie is that, like, unfortunately, we all know at least someone, but we normally know like a lot more than some ones. We know some manys who have experienced this, and it's the beauty of this has been to see people and to see this movie alongside women who haven't experienced this. Thank goodness. Go, whoa! It was, I fell in love too. I saw the red flags, but they didn't look red. They looked kind of fuchsia and cute. But like, you know, I ignored them, and I see why. And the story is told with such empathy that I feel like this movie can be healing, it can be a cautionary tale, and it can also and it can be inspiring. So I think that the movie itself and Colleen's work itself does that work. And for anyone, if anyone ever comes up to you and says that your work meant something to them outside of just having that collective experience in a theater where you laugh and cry and feel together, like, what a blessing. Like, what, you know, the fact that we get to do this and it gets to mean something is like, yeah, it's really significant.
You mentioned cry, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. By the end of the screening, I was sitting alone in a movie theater here in Chicago. It was an ugly cry, like not even like a cute single tear. It was like that sad, that really that silent gagging.
Criers. Like, other than Nicole Kidman, like, who cries cute? Because the word ugly cry comes up, but like
it's the same thing. It's synonymous. No one ever. Yeah, I was going to ask you guys: do you cry at your own movies? Like if you're sitting in a movie theater.
First time I watched this movie, I cried.
when?
A couple times. Yeah, a couple times I cried in the movie, which I was surprised by. I mean, I'm a crier. I cried. I was like commercials, dogs, certain songs. I'll see like an old couple just walking down the street holding hands, and I just start crying.
Otters, baby otters holding
Yeah,
hands.
anything. I just,
They hold hands when they sleep.
Squirrel
it's so
cuddling
sweet.
with another squirrel. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
Or just, I'm moved by just beauty in general, but this film is really special, and I think that there's that emotional. It's just so relatable on every possible, but man or woman, you can relate to it in every way. The humanity of this thing. So yeah, I cried.
I suffer from toxic masculinity. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. I cry
She
when I'm.
hit me when I started crying. Yeah, she said, "Get those tears back in there, boy."
I cry in movies and yeah, I obviously cry in real life too, but this movie, it still makes me cry. Yeah, there are still moments but I love these characters so deeply, and I'm so proud of the work that we all did in this movie, and that's, you know, every single member on screen, all the people off screen. It was such a collective effort to get what you see on screen, and I just feel so proud of it, and I love it so much that it feels it feels like a baby of mine. Like I couldn't love it more. So in that same way, yeah, to watch it grow and watch other people like it, and like, you know, it's just great. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It very much is. I've got 10,000 more questions I wish I could ask you. They're pulling me out of here, but I know you have an insanely busy day, so I appreciate you guys fitting me in.
Thank you so much. Thank
Good
you
to
so
see
much.
you guys.
Get used to this after a while?
Of what?
Having an entourage and having all these people taking care of you and watching you and...
No, it's not that normal, but there's really only 2 people watching me. Everybody else is doing their thing. Everybody's just doing
Everyone's on a
their
different
job.
track.
Everybody's doing their job.
Well, you're an old pro at this point.
Am I?
Do you feel like
I
one?
guess so. I don't know. I've been doing this I really started when I was 19. I did a movie when I was 16, but then I went back to school, and I you know, what's interesting is that, like, I was really lucky to get a great opportunity very young. My first job was one of the starring roles in a big Warner Brothers movie, Sister of the Traveling Pants, and so while that was really fortunate, it also was tricky because I'm learning in front of everyone. So I didn't have the opportunity to go off and learn my craft and then present it to everyone. I learned while doing it. So I was fortunate to have that, but also I look back on, I can't even watch older movies.
Were you a high school actress?
No, I was in show choir. Glee is based on my high school, so it was it was so much fun. If I could be professionally in show choir for a living, I would, but I can't sing or dance. And
So how do you end up in show choir if you can't sing
because
or
I was
dance?
really excited to be there, and I just I had a very big performance face, so they'd put me in the front row a lot because there were amazing singers and dancers that were just kind of saying the words, but I would be like, you know, like big over the top face. So so yeah, that's how I ended up in show choir, and I just loved it so much, and I loved being on stage, which is interesting because I've never done it as an actor. But you had the support of 43 other people who were great at what they were doing. So, and they were doing the exact same thing as you. So you could get away with not being perfect.
Was acting an inevitability given your family?
Yeah, I never wanted to act because my family, they're all actors. And so I thought, I didn't have anything against it, but I just thought I want to carve my own path and find what I want to do. And it was the thing that I was groomed for without any of us realizing it, my family included. I grew up on sets. My parents had acting classes my whole life that I went to because I'm such a shy person by nature. So being in those classes made me really break out of my shell, and improvisation was something that I still use on my day-to-day life every moment. I mean, improvisation is something that just when my husband and I are having a conversation trying to make each other laugh, we're going back and forth, and it's not something we're doing on purpose. We're improving now. You know, it's like it's things that I do with my best friends. So so much of the foundation of who I am was created by my family being in the business.
And then you got sucked into the vortex by Warner Brothers?
Yeah, no, my brother tricked me. He actually made me learn the lines because he said he had an audition and he needed my help. So he made me do these lines with him for so many hours so I could do them upside down and backwards. And we went into the audition and he signed in, and then the casting director came out and said, "Blake?" And Eric said, "Yep, that's her." And I just thought I was gonna die. And she said, "We don't have you on our call sheet." And he said, "Oh," and he put his agency's name. And so I auditioned, and I didn't know what to say in that moment. I was 16, and my brother had just written my name on a piece of paper, and they were looking at me, so I walked in the room and did the audition. So he tricked me into doing that. And then I don't know how he continued to trick me into going on auditions. I think he leveraged it. I think he was going to take me on vacation or something. I can't remember how. And then I got Sisterhood. And then I went back to school for my senior year of high school and thought, I'll defer college for a year and just try this out and see what happens. And at the end of that year, when I decided I was going to go back to school, I met Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage, who brought Gossip Girl to me. And what was interesting about that is they were at the forefront of blog. I mean, they were so smart because they looked at what fans had been saying. So this is before people were on social media and giving their opinions, the fans. It was really just the people in suits that decided who was going to get what job. But they, because of Sisterhood, fans of the book of Gossip Girl said, this girl would be a great Serena. And so they thought, well, I bet you we will, in order to, if we listen to the fans and cater to the fans now and show them that we hear them and we see them and we respect them and we're making it for them, then we immediately have their loyalty and love in such a more powerful way than just if we decide who we think the best person for the job is. Let them decide. And now that happens so often in so many industries, but they were one of the first to do it. They're the first to do it that I was aware of. So they brought the show to me, and I said, no, I'm going to go back to school. And they said, okay, you can go to Columbia 1 day a week, or maybe 2 days a week if it really slows down. It's not full-time, but at least you'll feel like you're doing it simultaneously. And they said after the first year, it'll really slow down. And then if we're lucky enough to make it even into a first year or even beyond the pilot, and then it'll slow down, and then you can go to school a couple days a week. And it just got busier and busier. And
so you weren't hungry, ambitious at that point? You really
I was
were?
very hungry and very ambitious. I just didn't think that acting was the career that I was hungry and ambitious for.
What did you think it was?
I had no idea. I just wanted to go out. I wanted to go to a great school, get an amazing education. I wanted to go find my own way and find what I loved and find what I was good at and find what I was bad at and lean into that. And I found that with acting plenty. But I also found moments of things that I was good at with acting too. And so for me, it's just been, it's it's been as rewarding and challenging as any job I ever could have dreamed of, but it's just the one thing that I thought I wouldn't do. So I sort of struggled with it for most of my career. I thought, oh, this isn't what I'm really going to do. I'm just going to do this for a year while I defer college, or I'm just going to try this out, and then I'm going to go back to high school, and I did. And then I'll just defer college for a year and try it out, and then I'll go to school. And then at the end of that, I thought, okay, I'll just do this show, and then I'll have enough money that, you know, I can put some aside for college fund. And then the show lasted 6 years, and then that was my profession. And so
Are you hypercritical, or is there room for that on a series, or just kind of go through it?
I am hypercritical, so that's what was challenging for me on the series. Is I'm such a perfectionist, and I hold myself to a higher standard than anyone. So being on a show where we learned our lines during last looks, when we weren't given scripts, it was really a pop culture. Like the way that they hired me is reflective of the way that the show was run. So it was really about leaning into the young audience, feeding this pop culture machine, leveraging our personal lives with our lives on the show, and the outfits, the locations. I mean, that's why the show was so fabulous, is because of all of that stuff. But as an actor, you're not planning your arc or your character. You're just trying to say the lines, not even as naturally as possible, because it's a heightened reality. It's a genre show. So you're not trying to say them as naturally as possible. You're trying to say them as sort of fun as possible, in a way where you don't sound like a person who learned them 3 minutes ago. So, and you're hitting your mark, and you have to block the scenes in a way where, like, this is how I'd actually walk in the room, and this is how it'd play out. You have to block the scene knowing you have 9 pages to shoot that day, so you really just walk in, and it's like this, where you'd really be moving or doing other things. So it's really, it was about cranking it out more than anything else, and that's hard, but it also teaches you a lot too. You know, you learn really hard work. You learn having to like be on your feet. You learn, you know, having to work with a crew. I mean, it was such a group effort, because we shot. Sometimes we were shooting 3 episodes at once, in all different locations. So it was really, really intense. And we were all so young that they worked us in a way that now we'd be like, I don't know if we should work this many hours a day.
I have an agent to keep me from doing this.
But they're 24 hours in a day, because I'm on hour 28 now, and this is very confusing. So yeah, but yeah, it helps.
And also super famous, all of a sudden, instantly.
Yeah, I guess there was less of an awareness of that, because we all lived in New York City, and the show was based in New York City, and there's a very specific love for New York City shows and people on New York City shows that you experience there. So when you are on Sex and the City, I imagine, and you're in New York City, it's more heightened than if you're somewhere else in the world. And I think that, so we sort of felt like we were sort of like hometown heroes, you know, but if we left our hometown, it wouldn't be as, the outreach wouldn't be as great. But that was the craziest thing for us, is to go to Dubai or China and just see that it was exponentially greater there, all
Which
over the world.
Which is great or scary or?
Greater, I'm saying, in size.
No, I mean, is it great to have that, to suddenly, you know, realize that you're paparazzi are chasing you and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's, it's very strange. It's a very unnatural thing. I think that people, by nature, crave recognition, but they also need anonymity. So it's a very, I think that human beings in general, we do better when we have anonymity, because it's unnatural to be chased around like that. But yet we all want to accomplish things where we experience something where we can leave our mark. So we sort of want both things. But you never want people chasing you around. What you really want is to do great work, to be able to be a part of great films, and then, yeah, it's fun to get to wear the gowns and have the celebrations on the nights that are allotted for that. But you think, well, let's just keep it to those nights. Let's keep the attention to days like today, and then tomorrow I'll just go back to my real life. But it doesn't work that way, and it's sort of, you feel like it's very unfair when you're young that it doesn't work that way, and then you realize, oh, I can't really have it both ways. So, so yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not anything to complain about. We're lucky. If these are the things we're complaining about, we're very, very
Well, ultimately, it's interesting as an artist. You have, it's not, because there are two different, it's almost like there are two different tracks that are going on, or three different tracks that include real life.
Yeah.
And one definitely affects the other. I think it seems to have takes a toll, or sometimes it's
Well, it's actually
enriching.
harder to do your work the more well-known you are, because you can't disappear into a role because people feel like they know you. And what's interesting, especially in this era with social media and blogs, is that there's such a desire to know everything about someone, and if they don't know everything about you, they just make it up. And so every sort of persona has a personality or a love life or a this or that assigned to them. So we feel like we know these people, and then when we see them play a character, it's really hard to wash away the thing that we're inundated with all day, every day on our phones and on our TVs and papers. So yeah, I think it makes it harder as an artist to do your work when you're trying to pretend to be other people, when people feel like they know you so specifically and they're so overloaded with this idea that they have of you.
And are they right at all?
Usually not, but there are moments where they can be right. Yeah, for sure. But usually it's just sort of an oversimplified, palatable, and more salacious version. I think that what's been interesting to me is to see that people are so much less interesting in the best way than the tabloids make them out to be. Everyone's so much more boring. Their lives are so much more boring, in the greatest way. It's not the scandalous soap that the media makes it out to be, but sometimes it is.
Well, parenting is not incredibly glamorous activity.
It's not, but it sure is great. It can be glamorous. It can be. I think so. I think it can be glamorous because there's nobody that makes me feel like, there's nobody that makes me feel as good as I feel when my daughter says, "Mama, wow, you look beautiful," or that is just like, ugh. Other than my husband and my baby girl, I mean, those are that's the truest compliment to me. So yeah, that's when it feels glamorous. Or I get really excited when I have gowns to try on because I know my daughter will be excited about that. I'm only saying one daughter because the other one's doesn't speak yet, but I'm sure she'll be excited. And maybe she won't. Maybe she'll just care about cars, which is great, or books. That would be better. But yeah, and yeah, this is our job. So while our job can be quite glamorous, it's still our job, and our kids know that and understand that. They don't have, their head isn't wrapped around the other side of it yet. It's just that mommy and daddy go to work and they come. And we're lucky to have them come with us because most people can't bring their kids to their office every day. So every day is take your daughter to work day for us, and that's. We're really, really lucky to be able to do that.
So you get through 6 years of television, but you get through the fourth, fifth year. I assume at that point you feel like you've got the craft completely down. You know what you're doing. But does the art? Are you feeling like you know what you're doing as an actor in the process of that, or are you still?
Well, it's a different craft. I mean, after 4 or 5 years of doing the TV show, you have the craft of doing that TV show down because every TV show is different. There are shows that shoot 9 episodes, 7 episodes a season, and they take a few weeks an episode, where we were cranking out 3 episodes at once and they would be a 1-week episode. So it was just like so that system you have down, but it's a completely different craft than acting. So, and you also have to unlearn a lot of bad habits, which is like, oh, when I walk into a scene, let's just block it like this because this is all we have time for. You actually have the ability to really explore it for the first time, physically, emotionally. And we would, most of us would do movies on our hiatus, and so we would get just moments here and there. But what was strange is because the show took up 10 months of our year, we were acting for a long time, yet we never really had the opportunity to work on our craft because we were doing a different type of thing. So it's like we'd been in the industry for a while, but hadn't really seen how we could sculpt ourselves and disassemble ourselves and how we could disappear and how we could play. Yet we were more known, so it was even harder to disappear. So it's sort of an interesting thing to figure out as an actor, of like what roles can I do where I don't just disappear from the audience that feels like they know me, which was especially tricky because, you know, I dated the same guy that my character dated. I wore the same clothes that my character wore. I went to fashion shows and my character went to fashion shows. I mean, it was just like, it walked like a duck, it talked like a duck, but it wasn't a duck, you know? And I could not have been more different than my character. And to me, that was especially heightened by the fact that I was wearing the same clothes, yet I was living in such a different skin, or I was dating the same guy, yet we were both so different than our characters, and our relationship was so different, or that I was going to shows, but it was such a different life. So to me, it was more amplified how different we were, but I think to everybody watching, it was more heightened how similar we were because it looked the same. So then as an actor, you have to work even harder because people feel like they really have an idea of you because they've seen you on screen as this person, they've seen you off screen as the same person, so you have a double reflection of that person that you have to fight. So that's why a movie like this, like All I See Is You, where I dyed my hair brown, we did put the scar on for her accident, just like a very raw, virgin look was really important to us. It was very raw and it was very exposed. I mean, it was the first time that I've done any level of nudity in a film, and it was important to be physically, emotionally exposed in every way, and to see what comes off of that, because the version that you see often is like the version that's all done up, or it's not the exposed raw version.
So it was a very conscious turn for you in general? I mean,
yeah, I think it wasn't that I was just looking for this specific thing, because the first movie I did off of my show was Age of Adeline, which could not have been more fabulous, and the hair and the makeup looks and spanning from all the decades. But the character required that, and it was just something that I loved, and I felt like I could disappear because it was all these different time zones, and the dialect, the accent was different, the way she speaks. And so to me, I felt like I could take that and really become a different woman. Same thing with Café Society, is that took place in the 1930s, so I could become a different woman. The Shallows is something where I've never been stranded fighting for my life on a rock, but it was very, very different than anything I've ever experienced or anything I've ever been a part of, that I felt like that I could disappear into that. And with All I See Is You was the biggest turn, the biggest arc. It was the most different from any character I'd ever done, and I just loved it.
And does it feel different in terms of doing the work?
How? Does what feel different?
Does acting feel different? Do you feel like
that
as you're going into these other projects and you're looking to stretch and find other things, are you finding, is the act of acting different? Are you challenging yourself in ways as an actor that you hadn't before, and as you say, unlearning tricks that you had?
A lot of it's about opportunity, honestly. I'm lucky to be in a position where I have a nice amount of opportunity, but even then, especially for women, you're this objectified, either one-dimensional character who's like the prize for the man, or if you do get to be a little bit gritty of a character, it's so hypersexualized, it's so glamorized that you don't really get to be flawed. You never get to be flawed as the hero of the story. It's if you get to do this great little character piece. I love doing that role in The Town because I shot for 7 days, but she was just this incredible wild card, and that was so rewarding because I got to go so far because I didn't carry the movie. So you didn't have to worry about liking her or not. I got to really, really push it. And that's really the biggest thing that you hear as a woman is like, we just want to make sure she's likable. I've never heard them say that about any character my husband's ever played. We want to make sure he's likable. You never hear that. It's something that everybody's really worried about with women, which is like, just shows the mentality. So yeah, it's hard to get to play a really bold, distinct character when you're having to always toe that line of like, let's make sure she's likable, or let's make sure she's attractive enough that men, desire her. And that's the nice way of saying what they say. But yeah, it's tricky because we we're so much more dimensional as women than we get to be in film, and so yeah, a lot of it's about opportunity, and then the opportunity is so narrow for women that then the competition is greater than the opportunity, and there's so many great actresses out there that have earned the position they're in, and there's so many great actresses out there that have earned a better position than they are in, you know, and so yeah, there's very limited roles. So when I find a film like All I See Is You with a director like Mark Forster, I just feel so lucky that it came my way, because more than anything at the time, I'm just thinking, how did this come to me, you know?
So how did it come to you? I mean, did you get a call from Mark, or?
Yeah, I got a call from Mark. I don't know how Mark. I have to ask him. I don't know what movie or how I was on his radar, but yeah, he said he wanted me to read the script, and if I liked it, he wanted to meet, and we met, and we had a great conversation, and we agreed with so much visually. And we actually had a dear friend in common, which is Ryan Reynolds, who's sitting behind you. He was telling me about his friend who he was consulting with, who had lost his sight, like, you know, our character Gina, in very different ways. But and I said, oh, I have a friend as well. What's his name? And he said, Ryan. And I said, Knighton? And so it was just this crazy coincidence that we had a friend in common, which felt very serendipitous. And we both leaned on Ryan a lot to help us, Mark, in the writing process, and then also even in sound design. When I did ADR for the film, instead of speaking into a traditional microphone that's just flat in front of you, I spoke into a microphone that was shaped like a human head. So it was this foam head, because sound travels differently when it's recording it this way and across the different planes of your nose and your face and your cheekbones than it does when it's just right here flat, or right here on a little mic. Right. My hair's on. Making sure the sound was a really authentic experience is really critical to Mark. The visuals, something that Mark discovered when speaking to a lot of different people, was that, and I don't know if this is true for everyone, but this is true for the people that Mark was speaking with, was he said that a lot of times, he said, when you're not seeing something, do you imagine it, or do you just listen? He said, well, no, we imagine it, but he said, well, what is it like? Do you imagine just like a normal room? And the thing that fascinated him most is, he said, no, that's sort of boring. We just sort of let our imagination run wild. And so that's why in scenes where I'm swimming in the pool, it turns into this beautiful, expansive sea. Or there are these moments where she's experiencing one thing, but the visuals take you to another place. And we all do that. We all imagine things in our head or go off in our own train of thought. But if we had to close our eyes, we would exist in that much more than when our eyes are open. We're seeing one thing, but we're sort of imagining a parallel other thing. But if you had your eyes closed, then you would just only be living in that parallel other thing.
So was the conversation with Mark key to you wanting to do this, or was the character on the page?
Definitely. The character was on the page. It was a beautiful script, but it was something that, it was a very strange script, because it would say, okay, when from this point forward, the movie's going to be blurry, and then you're going to be able to see here, and then it's going to go back to being blurry here, and then she's swimming in the pool, and then there's this expansive ocean. I mean, it was just sort of, it was very visual, yet you're reading text. So they tried to articulate visuals in text, which is sort of impossible to do. So it was key in that you had to say, what the heck does this, what are you talking about? Right. How does this not, what are you talking about? Because I filled in the blanks with my imagination, but how does this manifest itself in your world or your imagination? And so seeing the visuals that he had was just so beautiful, so brilliant.
And how hard is it on set? I mean, Jason's trying to act with you and not getting, I guess, anything from your eyes the way you normally would on a set, or is he?
Yeah, that was, I think, hard for both of us, is that normally you're doing a really emotional scene and we're looking in each other's eyes and crying. I'm telling him that I can't conceive, and you realize how much you use that as a crutch. It was really hard for me not to look in his eyes to cry. When I had to look just off of his eyes, just like this, it's just, you're losing that connection. So I had to find other ways to connect with him emotionally. So it actually made my job a lot harder, but it was so, I also think that's why it's the performance I'm most proud of, because it made my job harder. I had to really find it deeper within rather than just finding it more on the surface, because you can when you have your eyes, you know, it's like that's the window of the soul. You just look at someone and they're emotional and you're emotional, and then boom, it's there.
Yeah.
But you have to connect on such deeper levels.
Well, I think with actors, that's what, you know, what we see as an audience is so much of it is through their eyes.
Yeah.
You know, either the person can do that trick or can't.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
it's a given.
Yeah.
Some people convey everything, and some
Yeah.
people can't convey anything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, why?
Yeah.
Because there's some great stage actors who just don't
Yeah.
work on film. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, what happened?
Huh. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. But yeah, I mean, what's neat about this movie is that we as the audience, there's something voyeuristic about it, in that we as the audience see so much of her for so long and see the emotion in her eyes and what she's feeling and experiencing, but she doesn't. And that's also what we as the audience are almost in her husband's perspective in that time. And then suddenly when she can see everything, and it was an interesting turn to me as someone reading the script as an audience member and as an actor.
So when you see it put together, was it surprising to you, or were you so into it that you already kind of had a sense of where you'd be?
It was both. It was both. I really love seeing all the visual effects because, you know, it was just something that Mark had described, and they are so abstract that it's hard to describe. So yeah, it was exciting to me, but not surprising, because I feel like he really did what he set out to do.
Mm. Yeah. And is it emotional when you see something that you're proud of come together?
Yeah,
is it a different experience than
it is. This whole movie was a really emotional experience. We also had a DP who he would, you know, you block. This is the exact opposite of what I was talking about before, which is we would block a scene sort of, but if we felt like moving somewhere else, he would just move with us. He was operating all the time, but then you're also assuming, okay, he's on my face unless we're doing a special shot that's of something different. But he would just suddenly, in the middle of a screaming, crying scene, he'd just pan down and start filming my hands. And tears are pouring out of my eyes, and this guy's shooting my fingers. What is he doing? Get up here. This is the good stuff.
I'm giving you the
It's
money.
happening. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had my phone in my pocket, and it's buzzing. He's probably telling me to say nicer things about him. It's my phone.
Always
But
say
he
nice
would...
things about Mom.
but he would, so he'd suddenly start filming my hands or my feet. But what was interesting is that to him in that moment, my hands were telling so much more of the story than my face. And I had to be so much more, it was sort of chicken or the egg. I don't know if I was more alive and awake as an actor, because every part of me was up for grabs while he's filming. My mom will call 7 times in a row. She's that person. She's the one who thinks that, like, on time 6, you just, like, didn't see that she was calling, so she's just gonna keep calling. But anyway, it's on airplane. Or maybe he was filming my hands and my feet, because for the first time I was acting with my hands and my toes and my elbows and my knees in a way that I never was before, because if that sense of sight is taken away, then you're using so many more senses to navigate around the world or tell your story.
So do you feel free now to try everything? I mean, what is the next
What does
5
that
years
mean?
of? Well, in terms of trying, I mean, you apparently are not going to sing if you didn't think you can sing.
I sang in this movie.
Well,
Did you
yeah.
see the movie?
I did see the movie, but I mean,
We're gonna give you a pop quiz at
there
the
can be a
end.
pop quiz every minute of it.
Yeah.
It's a complicated pop quiz though.
Yeah, it
with
would be
Mark's
complicated.
images.
Yes.
But I mean, is everything on the table? Are you now like at a moment where you're kind of, okay, that whole Gossip Girl thing is behind me, and I'm done the movies that are, because it feels like the movies that you've chosen are each a departure in a different way.
Yeah.
And what is next? What would be your dream of the next 2 or 3 years of what comes to you?
Well, the movies I just did are pretty in line with that. I just did a movie with Paul Feig called A Simple Favor and Anna Kendrick, and that movie was so much fun. I got to play so many different women within one. And with Paul, you know, has a natural inclination towards being comedic, because he's just so funny and delicious and fun. And so it's sort of a noir film. It's a thriller by the script, But it's not a thriller at all. It's just like, you know, you watch any old Bette Davis movie and you're laughing half the time, but the story is intense, but because the characters are so delicious and over the top and fabulous. So this is the same sort of thing where the characters are just so over the top and divine that that it's really funny, or it was to me. At least I think I made a comedy. I don't know. No, it's not a straight comedy by any means, but we were laughing a lot. So it's just a really, really fun, really interesting movie. Such a fun character, and then I'm about to do a movie with Rita Morano, The Handmaid's Tale, and Barbara Broccoli, who's, you know, Miss Bond, and it's a movie about a woman living in London who is a heroin addict and a prostitute, but not in the way that you see in movies where it's always sexualized and glamorized. It's the way that you see in real life, where you just think like, oh, this is so disturbing and this is so tragic. Because this movie's made by a bunch of women, so we're not saying, well, the guys have to want to, you know, bang her. Let's make her a sexy heroin addicted prostitute. It's like, no, we're going to show how tragic this life is and trust that people are open enough to really watch a person turn their life around. And she becomes an assassin. But what's interesting is she becomes an assassin not because she's a prostitute become assassin, like you would think, but she's somebody who has nothing left to lose. She's a walking dead person already. She's already killed herself in so many ways. And when she finds out her family's death wasn't an accident, she just goes to get revenge. And because she has nothing to lose, because she knows she's going to die, each time she just makes it that much further because of that bravery. So what's actually cool about it is that she's not good at being an assassin. She just has nothing to lose. So she just goes in and she makes it beyond so many of these people who are trained. And so to see car chases that aren't these amazing professional car chases, but the car chases of a person who's just trying to make it one more second in life, and knows that they may go at any moment. It's really brave, really cool.
So are you hopeful for women in this business in general? I mean, it sounds like you're finding interesting roles and not doing the things you don't want to be doing. And
yeah, I think that it's nice. I feel like there's a little bit of an uprising for women right now, and I think that that's really important because we perpetuate it as much as anyone while thinking, oh, well, these are the opportunities that are out there. Oh, this is how it is. But when you learn that you can create your own opportunities and it doesn't have to be this way. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 19 really, and 30 now, so 11 years, and I've worked with one female director in that entire time. Other than my show, there were a few female directors that came on our show, but in films, I've worked with one female director. And sometimes female producers, sometimes, but more often than not, male producers. So to be doing a film with a female director, a female producer, me at the center of it, it's such a rare thing. And it's not that, oh, I only want to make movies with women, but it's just so imbalanced. If men are telling the stories, then naturally they're going to be telling stories for men better than they are women because they're not women. So giving women opportunities to tell stories just naturally creates more authentic and more dimensional characters and opportunities.
Yeah, I also think that there are a lot of that conversation about women doing things. It's not just women making stories about women. I think if women are making things, that they're also making things about men.
Of course.
That are different than necessarily what.
Of course.
It's not just gender. It's their artists who are out there.
Of course, and that's something that people think, oh, this is a female-driven story, so we really want a female-driven filmmaker. But you don't say that with a male director. You don't say this is a story about a woman, so I really. This is a story about a man, so we must have a male director. You just assume it's going to be a male director. Right. And if it's a story about a woman, more often than not, it's been a male director. So why is it now that everybody has this awareness of female directors that they have to tell female stories? Yeah. But yeah, I think that women have a greater opportunity to tell more authentic stories about women because they're women. They've experienced it. But like any fiction, they can write stories for men. Men can write stories for women, and you know. It's so imbalanced, but.
I always say there'll be true equality when women can do really bad work and still just keep on going. The mediocrity is like, is as long as they're as mediocre as men.
Yeah, not just that. I just saw this beautiful French magazine cover with Pierce Brosnan, and he just could not look more handsome. It's the most handsome he's ever looked. He's got these, these spots, these I don't know if they're freckles or a little bit of sun and like beautiful skin and like hard wrinkles and this graying beard, and it's just this like gorgeous photo. But if that were a woman, you'd say, "Oh, she looks rough. We can't put that on the cover of a magazine." She just wouldn't have the same opportunity to look that way. So why is it beautiful with a man, but with a woman it would be
So it's funny, if you see
rough.
Catherine Ross now, who's 60-something,
Yeah.
she still looks incredible. She hasn't had any work done, and she looks like a woman of her age,
Yeah.
but she's still gorgeous.
Yeah, of course.
It's just we don't keep ourselves open to
But
that.
even to say like she's still gorgeous is something that's a
Well.
problem, because men, you're not saying, oh, he's still gorgeous, you're saying, wow, look how handsome he is, or he's gotten even more handsome. You wouldn't say, oh, Pierce Brosnan's still handsome. Of course he's still handsome. The fact that we even attach a still to it is problematic, even though we're giving a compliment. So it's just like, it's such a big thing for us to wrap our heads around. But I'm just so glad that that's even a conversation, that we can have this conversation, that we're even aware that we can be that, sensitive to the way we speak. But long way to go. But this industry, we're lucky in this industry that these are our problems. There's so many businesses where women, aren't having this voice or this uprising. There's so many. Beyond that, I mean, women are being sex trafficked all over the world. So to complain about roles for women in Hollywood is just a drop in the bucket.
Well, but like anything else, it's
issues for
real
women.
if you're in it, It's like,
Yeah, it's real if you're in it. It is. But that's, it's important that we shine a light on all that other.
well, you have two daughters to raise into a better place.
I do.
So
I'm
that's-
grateful to have two girls.
They're going to have a better generation, hopefully.
Yeah.
Each one
they
better.
Will. They will. I feel good about that. I do. I'm glad I have two girls that I can take everything that I've learned and unlearned, mainly things I've unlearned, and try to help guide them. And I have a husband who's just perfect for raising girls. He is.
Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Appreciate
Nice to talk to you. Thank you. Sorry my mom called 1,000 times.
It's okay. Love Mom.
God.
Blake, hey.
Hello.
How are you?
Good,
Come
how
on
are
in.
you? Thank you. You have an accordion player in your hallway.
I had no idea. That's awesome. I'm just going to ask you 73 questions. Have a seat.
Okay.
How are you feeling these days?
Nervous to answer 73 questions so quickly.
What's the best thing that happened to you this year?
I was given an Irish red setter.
What's the best thing that happened to you this month?
My company is launching.
What's the best thing that happened to you today?
I have shoes that look like everlasting gobstoppers.
What's the best thing ever?
Pianos.
What's your favorite season?
Fall.
Favorite holiday?
I love every holiday.
What's your best Halloween costume?
One that you make with your two hands.
Would you ever live anywhere besides the East Coast?
Paris.
Which Sex and the City character do you identify with most?
Mostly the men.
Blake, do you like surprises?
Yes.
I got one for you in the kitchen. Let's go. Come on.
Okay. Wow. I don't think I dressed for this.
That's all right. What's the biggest surprise you've ever had?
My mom brought home a child from a yard sale once. True story.
What's the surprise that made you cry?
Stubbing my toe.
What's the best surprise you planned for someone?
A collection of short stories written by loved ones for my husband.
What's your favorite plot twist?
Vertigo.
If you could do a flash mob, where would it be?
In a pool, synchronized swimming. Is that my surprise?
I asked the questions, Blake.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, I'm checking it out anyway.
Do you like cupcakes?
Oh, yes.
Do you usually bake cupcakes?
Yes, they're much better baked than raw.
Do you want to decorate some cupcakes?
Yes.
How often do you bake?
Too often.
What's your favorite dessert?
Chocolate souffle.
Is there a dessert you don't like?
There's no such thing.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
What's your favorite bakery?
My home. My husband has coined it the Blakery.
What's the coolest thing about Canada?
Jeff, Pat, and Terry.
Just letting you know there are cherries in the fridge, but what's your favorite food?
Is that a hint? Chocolate souffle. Oh, I already said that. Melted cheese.
What's your least favorite food?
Sea urchin?
What's your favorite condiment?
Mayonnaise.
It's brunch. What do you eat?
Unless icing counts as a condiment. Eggs Benedict.
It's 4 a.m. on a Saturday night. What would you eat?
Cookies, because the only reason I would be awake at 4 a.m. on a Saturday night is because I'm baking them.
You are stuck on an island. You can pick one food to eat forever without getting tired of it. What would you eat?
Truffle pappardelle from Scalene and Tella.
Tell me your favorite color.
Pink.
Can you answer that again now that this is a question?
Pink.
Least favorite color?
There's no such thing because every color informs the others.
What kind of lip gloss do you use?
Color Riche.
What color dress did you wear to your prom?
Coral.
Blow dry or air dry?
Air dry.
Would you ever cut your hair short?
I did by accident recently, but only on one side, which was very unfortunate.
Who is your fashion icon?
My mama.
What's 3 things in your purse you cannot live without?
My cell phone, my credit card, and my passport, just in case.
Favorite superhero?
The Green Lantern?
Really, really, really nice artwork you have going on there.
Thank you.
Who is your favorite painter?
Travis Louis and Szechuan.
What do you see in this decoration?
My father.
Let's bring these to the dining room. I am going to make some coffee.
Okay.
Who is a person you'd love to have coffee with?
Alan Watts, but he's dead, so that's not possible.
Who's an historical figure you'd love to have coffee with?
Eleanor Roosevelt.
How do you like your coffee?
I like hot chocolate, so in the trash.
What do you usually order at Starbucks?
Do people go to Starbucks these days?
7 questions from now, a man will appear through that window and ask you something about homemaking. Is that okay with you?
That's creepy, but okay.
Who was the last person you texted?
My sister.
Who's the last person you tweeted?
I don't have Twitter.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Vine or YouTube?
Fine.
Twitter or Instagram?
I still don't have Twitter since 2 questions ago.
Oh, I forgot. Who should everyone be following right now?
The leader, wherever he may go.
Hey, I'm purchasing a pre-war 1-bedroom apartment for my girlfriend, and I want to know, are we going to do carpet or hard wooden floors?
You should do wood floors, but you should check because it's a pre-war building if the existing floors below are still there because they're always
Some
more
good info.
awesome.
Great cupcake.
His mother did not love him well.
Blake, have you had anything besides cupcakes stolen from you?
My freedom after I murdered that man for stealing my cupcakes.
Favorite country to visit?
France.
Last country you visited?
Canada.
Country you wish to visit?
Japan.
What was your first pet?
A dog.
What was your first pet's name?
405 after the freeway.
Favorite
Classy.
Disney animal?
Remy from Ratatouille.
Kittens or puppies?
Puppies.
What's your spirit animal?
Mickey Mouse.
That was question 63.
Okay.
Yep, time to go.
Are you kicking me out?
Maybe.
No.
You said it.
You boys are very rude in here.
What are you doing tomorrow?
I am decorating for a summer barbecue I'm having this weekend.
What are you most excited about in life right now?
Oh, I'm so excited about my company that I'm launching.
What's your favorite movie?
Wizard of Oz.
Movie you laughed the hardest through?
Shawshank Redemption.
If you could sing a duet with someone, who would it be?
An unplugged microphone.
If your life was a song, what would the title be?
Victory lap for those people that believe you get to live multiple lives.
A book you read because everyone else was reading it.
Harry Potter.
Best gift you've ever received.
A video of all the people that had made an impact in my life for my birthday from my husband.
Last gift you gave a friend.
A hug?
Oh, thank you so much. And one last question.
Okay.
Did you forget something?
Oh, wow. Your father. Thank you.
Thanks, Blake.
Or my father. Whose father?
I don't know.
Are we brothers, sister?
Yeah.
Blake Lively is facing renewed criticism over her use of a transgender slur in interviews that have recently resurfaced. The actress, known for her role in It Ends With Us, was criticized on social media after a fan highlighted a quote from a 2012 Elle magazine interview where she used the term tranny while discussing her hopes for her future children. The fan's post on X included an image of Lively's quote, "I hope to have a few girls one day. If not girls, they better be trannies. Because I have some amazing shoes and bags and stories that need to be appreciated." This term, considered offensive and derogatory by many in the transgender community, sparked a wave of backlash. Comments on social media ranged from outrage to more nuanced reactions. Some users condemned Lively's choice of words, suggesting it was harmful and indicative of a larger issue. "You just blew up the whole smear campaign with this one user wrote, while another lamented, 'Not Lady Deadpool.'" On the other hand, some defended Lively, noting that the term was more commonly used in the past and arguing that her intention was not malicious. "I'm actually not mad at this at all. The word was thrown around a lot back in the day. If it was said today, it would be problematic, but nothing is wrong with wishing for a trans child," one fan commented. Another remarked, "I get what she was trying to say because someone better appreciate all that vintage Versace she has, but she could have used different wording." This isn't the first time Lively has faced scrutiny over her use of the term. In a 2009 interview with Allure, she mentioned, "I feel like a tranny a lot of the time. I don't know, I'm large. They put me in 6-inch heels, and I tower over every man." She elaborated on feeling out of place due to her height and appearance, comparing herself to the term she used. Additionally, in a 2008 Nylon interview, Lively used the term while addressing rumors about her and her Gossip Girl co-star, Leighton Meester. She said, "You read the gossip magazines and everybody is dating everyone, everybody hates everyone, everybody's had tons of plastic surgery and we're actually men and trannies. You don't listen to the rumors." Representatives for Lively have not yet responded to requests for comment from